What did you see last night that stood out to you from somebody that is an MVP candidate?
Well, first, I started to get a little nervous on the outside. Those Yankee fans definitely started to feel it when they started the "Let's Go Blue Jays" chants in Yankee Stadium. You start thinking, okay, are the Blue Jays fans going to come and support, come across the border, or the ones that are in the U.S. going to come out, pay an expensive ticket to potentially see their team sweep the Yankees? And it started to look like it was happening that way. Then all of a sudden, you have a chance for a big moment with Aaron Judge. Can he deliver in the postseason? And the thing is, he's been delivering. Yeah, there are some times where he's not going to get it done every time, but he's up there in homer ranks for the Yankees historically in the postseason. He had 10 hits in this postseason so far before that big moment. Now he's just kind of kept the door open because their season remains all because of one big swing of the bat from the potential MVP candidate, from the judge, from somebody that has a section in Yankee Stadium that is dedicated to him in the fans in the seating area in right field. So it's a definite amazing moment. It keeps things going over there. Derek Jeter on their cast with Fox talked about if you can just win one, then that continues to give you a lot of optimism and chances. And we forget about that. Everyone goes, okay, they got to win three in a row. Well, you can't win three until you win one. And now they've won one. And now a lot of that pressure shifts back to Toronto. But in this series, you have to give credit where credit's due. Each team has won at home, which is what you're supposed to do. So can the Yankees keep that going and win another game at home in Yankee Stadium? They got some momentum. Those bats need to come alive, but the pitching has to find a way to get Vlad Jr. out. This is the hottest man on the planet.
Who carries, though, more momentum? Because you talk about momentum from this win, and we all see the stat here. First team in MLB postseason history down by 5 or more runs and in danger of being swept to come back and win. So in a situation like that, from the guys in the locker room, do you carry more momentum because you did the impossible? Or do you carry more momentum, weirdly, if you're Toronto and you say, guys, we had him. Like, we were the better team throughout the majority of that game?
I feel like it's not as extreme like one team has all of it and the other team doesn't have any of it. Because if you are the Blue Jays, you have to look and say, we got on top early. We scored runs in Yankee Stadium. We did runs when we were at home at the Rogers Center. They just happened to come back and get to our bullpen, which was a question mark towards the end of the season for the Blue Jays. However, the pressure can easily shift if the Yankees get on top early in game 4. I think that's going to be the key. Coming from behind again, it's hard to keep doing that. They've gotten down early in game 1 and game 2, and you saw they couldn't get all the way back in it. But they didn't stop fighting. Those games at one point, I think, were big blowouts and ended up being a little bit closer, still resulting in a loss. But that fight towards the end in the 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th are little victories, which I think help in game 3. Hey, we're down. Just keep fighting. Keep getting runners on base. Keep putting the ball in play, and hopefully we'll get that one big swing. And they got it. But if they jump out early in game 4, I think now all of a sudden it shifts from about a 60-40 pressure Yankee Blue Jay to about a 70 on the Yankee side, a 30 on the Blue Jay side.
And of course, the Yankees are feeling the momentum. When the captain, Aaron Judge, comes up with a performance like he did yesterday, but also maybe feeling a little bit of swagger, knowing who will be on the mound tonight for the Yankees. Cam Schlittler, the Massachusetts kid that knocked his hometown team out of the postseason with an absolute nails performance last time that we saw him. How big of a difference can Cam Schlittler make, and what have you observed from him?
Young arms, optimism, the moments that they've dreamt about as a little kid, and finally being on the big stage to let them know I belong. You saw it in the Red Sox series. Stepped up, looked cool as a cucumber, wasn't even breathing hard, didn't even look like he was sweating out there. So to do that against a historic rival of the Red Sox, growing up a Red Sox fan, was huge. Now the biggest moment gets even upped in an elimination game, but the good thing for him, it's in Yankee Stadium where he did it in the previous game. The fans are going to feel it. The fans are going to know about it. The bad thing for the Blue Jays is it's someone they haven't had a chance to see a ton. When you've seen hitters a lot like Vlad Jr. versus Rodon, who's got history against him, who's had success against him. Those are things you can use to your advantage. When you haven't necessarily seen somebody all the time, you're trying to figure as you go. And figuring as you go in October is a challenging situation because you're not going to get a lot of at bats. You're not going to have a ton of information. Each situation is going to slightly be different. But again, you talk about adding a little momentum. I said it was 60-40, but until you brought that one up again, I'm going to go 65-35 now. It just slightly shifted again because of the performance that he was able to put on last time.
Let's take a look at the National League. We got two teams that are down in 0-2 hole. Cubs or Phillies? Which one do you give a better chance of making the big comeback?
I think right now, as today, I think the Cubs have the chance of winning game three better than the Phillies do winning game three in Dodger Stadium. Now, again, that's just a slight because the Phillies did go to the Dodgers late in the season and secured their division victory win over there. They had a late inning come from behind victory against Ohtani in game two of that series in September. So they've had some success in LA, but to travel from Philly after losing two games, the way they've lost them, to go all the way a 5.5, maybe 6 hour flight if they didn't get delayed or hit any weather and go to LA and try to win one there is going to be challenging. Now, we talked about it earlier. They called the Milwaukee, Wrigley North because it's so close. So a lot of those Cubs fans had gone up there, and they're obviously going to be excited for their team to come back to Wrigley Field, historic stadium, and get those fans behind them out there in the fans, get the beer snakes going, start getting the hot dogs and the Chicago style pizza flowing and rolling, those Miller Lights, and try to get as wild and as crazy as you can because you're going to need it. The Brewers fans also will come down. They're going to have a presence at Wrigley Field as well. But I think at home, at Wrigley, where they have played so well, gives them a little bit of a chance to pick up game three over the Phillies, trying to pick up and extend the series in LA.
It's not one of the most iconic venues in sports for no reason. All right, Curtis, I am going to allow you to just be a little self indulgent. Please, by all means, we invite it wholeheartedly. Who in the postseason reminds you most of you?
Haha. Let's see. The most of me, I would say, wow, if I'm looking at these teams, I gotta think real quick. Um, I would say probably Kristen Yelich. Kristen Yelich is somebody that doesn't say a ton, but can amp his team up, can bring a presence, can lead by example, and you're not going to see it so much on the field. It's in the dugout, it's in the locker room before you step on the field to allow the teammates to go out there and do what they can. He's been there. He's been to the postseason. He's continued to perform through injuries. He's continued to just be a namesake over there with that organization and with that team ever since he joined them. He's had big seasons where he's hit 40 plus home runs, and he's also been able to adapt to this role where, hey, I'm just trying to get through and give you everything I can. And even from that, hopefully you will see that and be able to do the same thing. We saw that with Churio dealing with a hamstring injury. Hey, if Christian Yelich can go out there and do the things he's been doing all season long and after he did last year, I can go out there and give my team everything I got, possibly with only one hamstring. And you saw that massive homer he hit and smacked the batter's eye in game two after being questionable for that game. So Kristen Yelich, he is taller than me, and he's got more hair than me, but he's the one that reminds me the most of me because he's on the left side, and of course he plays in the outfield.
He does
Yeah,
have great hair.
everybody's taller than both Caroline and I too. Let's just acknowledge that. All right, before we get you out of here, we're gonna let you give the answer to a test that's already halfway through. Your World Series pick. I mean, now that you've seen some playoff baseball, who you got?
So I got to stay with what I picked early on. I got asked this question in February, and I was like, hey, this is way too early, but let me just throw it out there. And the reason I got to stay with it, both teams are still alive. It's going to be a challenge for them, but let's see what ends up happening. And I had Detroit versus Milwaukee in the World Series. Just throwing it out there. I didn't know what I was doing back in February, but I did like what I had seen, and they are still alive. So I have those two in them, and I did a piece where I had to pick between those two. And I said, for the first time in their team's history, you will see some cheese curds, you will see some brats, and you will see a lot of beer being spilled over that trophy as the Brewers bring it home as the 2025 World Series champs.
Ooh, that is good stuff. You guys can check him out, MLB on TBS. I don't know what's better. Getting to watch you play was an honor. Getting to watch you talk about the sport just gets me amped up, brother. Either way, it works so well for us. We appreciate your time. Thanks for hanging out with us. I hope your pick is right, just so that we can all get squeaky cheese curds and be happy.
We'll see. You know, you never know what's going to happen. And as you mentioned, it's October. That's what makes it so fun and exciting. We just got to stay up and see what happens. So get your nap in. I'm going to get a nap in today.